I think that you should not only study ethics, but also realize that ethics and being ethical is reasonable. If you're a truly ethical person, you are never tempted to do evil. Even, no matter how difficult that, what I've just said, may seem. An important thing to keep in mind when it comes to ethics is that evil people don't think that they're evil. No one or at least almost no one, wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm evil and I'm going to do evil stuff today. Like, even like rapists and murderers don't think they're evil. Because, for one, they haven't studied ethics, so they only have sort of their feelings to go off of, so they don't have a very nuanced and good understanding of ethics. And they haven't thought about ethical issues deeply, which I'm not saying you have to be a scholar to be good to understand ethics. Like, just maybe you can even Wikipedia it, check out a book from the library, maybe get a little idea of ethics. Like utilitarianism and Kant is a pretty good start. But yeah, evil people don't think that they're evil. No one, in general, what they do is they tend to rationalize. So rationalization is when you deep down know something is wrong, but you come up with a smart reason to believe or do something that's unreasonable. So, for instance, Hitler was pretty unequivocally evil, but he rationalized what he did with the thought that he's actually a messiah, and that after he does all this bad stuff, he'll bring about a utopia that is so awesome that it'll totally make up for all the horrible evil things he did. Which is sort of my problem with utopias in general, is that in order to create any utopia, you have to commit acts of evil. So it's really not, you can't do it. You can't do utopia because you have to kill lots of people to do it. So yeah. And just in general, like I can go darker into examples of evil people rationalizing their evil, but I'm not going to go there. It's too much. I don't want this video to get too real, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, in general, so evil people think that they're good. They don't have a very good understanding of ethics. And even if they do have a good understanding of ethics, they may still rationalize the evil that they're doing. So you should try to understand ethics so that you have more of an argument for ethics and more ammunition to fight against your own rationalizations for bad things that you're doing. Or not, or whatever, not doing. You shouldn't be doing evil. But my second main point that I've been wanting to make, and that I'm probably going to do more videos about, just to remind people about, because I think it's so important, is that ethics is reasonable. It is reasonable to be ethical. What I mean by that is that if you're truly ethical, you're not tempted to do bad things, because doing bad things, once you understand ethics, it becomes obvious that bad things are just short-sighted and self-destructive, and that any good theory of ethics should point that out. That unethical stuff there's no reasonable reason to do evil things. You might think, oh well, it's reasonable for me to steal because they're rich anyway. But it's still unreasonable. And a quick reason of why is, for instance, Hobbesian social contract is one of my favorite justifications for ethics, which is basically, in order to create an ethical society, we have to all chip in and be ethical. And also understand that we have to have a system in place for when people go way too far into the unethical field, that they will be punished and it's stopped from doing that. But if we are evil in a society in which everyone else is being ethical, we are a freeloader. And you don't want to be a freeloader, because you're just, at that point, you're a jerk. You're undermining the system of ethics. You're undermining your society if you're an ethical freeloader. And then throw a little bit of a Kantian vibe. If everyone in your society is being an ethical freeloader, then it undermines the whole thing, this whole community. No, I know what I'm saying might not make much sense, so just, if you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. But in general, yeah, this is also my problem with religious ethics, a divine command theory, which is sort of the idea that all ethics comes from a god, whether that god be Yahweh or Allah or whatever other names exist. But the main two problems with it, which makes their ethical system unreasonable in my opinion, is the idea that ethics comes from authority rather than reasoning about ethics, which means that ethics becomes stuck in place, frozen in time when the religion was founded, and doesn't change with new evidence and new reasoning. So at a certain point the ethical code created by it stops being pro-human. It stops being set up in such a way to where because ethics reasonably should be about human happiness and prospering and making humans better, not obeying some dude. It should be all about making humans as awesome and making our communities as best as possible, not obeying some authority. Unless that authority, going back to Hobbesian, is just there to keep things going well, as a part of the overall plan of human happiness. Whereas I don't think any religion actually has that, because it's just obey, not God's just there to help you out, to give you guidance. No, it's obey. Which is ridiculous to me. And also, the problem particularly with Christian ethics, which I don't know how it is with other ethics, is the idea of temptation. The idea with Christian ethics is that you're deep down evil, and you're tempted by evil, and only by self-sacrifice and faith do you do good. No, that's nonsense. You should never be. If you are tempted by evil, then there's something wrong with you. You should try to not be tempted by evil. Because if you're tempted by evil at all, then you're being unreasonable. If you are as reasonable as you can be, you are never tempted to do bad. Because the idea of doing bad should just be so unreasonable to you that it's never a temptation. That's why and the reason why this conflict exists between the kind of Enlightenment ethics I'm talking about and Christian ethics is that because Christian ethics doesn't evolve with humanity, it says things are evil that are not evil. It's not evil to have sex before marriage. It is evil if you have horrifying STDs and you don't tell the other person. But you see, one's based on just a commandment from an ethical code that made sense thousands of years ago that don't make sense anymore. And one's based, example I brought up fits humanity better. So yeah, this would probably be better if I wrote this down, but I don't know, it's difficult to explain this stuff, that's for sure. I'm just saying it helps if you read a book about this, which explains it better than I can, because I worry that may be sounding confusing, but yeah. So I'm just going to conclude it now then. In conclusion, you should study ethics because evil people think they're good when they're not. So you should study ethics so that you can curtail any evil in yourself right off the bat. And an extension of that is to realize that ethics is reasonable. To be ethical is to be reasonable. To be unethical is to be unreasonable. That ethics truly defined is simply the code for human happiness and fulfillment, and with the idea being that unethical behavior is simply that which is self-destructive and bad for the community, and that religious ethics is pretty crappy now that we have a way better alternative when it comes to modern day secular Enlightenment ethical philosophy. Oh, and one last thing that added a bit of controversy to this. I do not think that science alone can create ethics.